I think the new Magic Layers feature in Canva has the ability to be a game changer, but maybe not in the way you think. On its surface level, it's really not anything that new. But if we dig a little deeper, there is a place where this really fits in a smart workflow that makes a ton of sense. So that's what we're digging into in this video, Magic Layers in Canva. How can we build that into a larger workflow that saves us a ton of time? Okay, so let's just start with the simple and obvious. What is this Magic Layers tool and what does it do? So it takes any flat image, so a JPEG, a PNG, and it's going to attempt to convert that into layers. So it's going to go in and look at that image. It's going to look for text. It's going to look for objects within your image and try to pull them out onto their own layers. So then you can work with them independently. Text will become editable. Those images you can then move around as separate layers. So that is the idea behind this tool. Now, where to find this tool? Currently, you can find it here on the home screen. You have this new Magic Layers, create new option. And also within the project interface, you can also get to that. So I will show you that as well. But let's start right here just by clicking on this Magic Layers option. So that is going to pop up this dialog box, and from here I can upload any image, or I can choose something from my recent uploads. It's also showing things that I recently uploaded to Canva. So let me just grab one of these recent uploads. This is just a flat image, but what it's going to do is it's going to come in here, it's going to open it, and you're going to see this sort of fading blue animation on here as it attempts to go in and take this flat image and convert it into layers. So let's see what it does with this image here. So this is going to be a helpful tool when you have a document and you want to sort of make the text editable again, find the different layers or objects within your image and pull them out. So let's see, now we have some separate layers in here. So if I want to see everything all at once, let me just click on something and go over to the position tab and then to layers. And we see now we have all these separate layers in here. So all this text, it's come in here and it's converted this to editable text. So if I want to come in here and type something new, I can come in there and now type out new text. That's very cool. Now, if you have something that's a font that doesn't exist in Canva, it's not necessarily going to find the exact font that was in the original design. It's going to try to match it to the best of its ability, but if it's something that was created in another program with a different font that doesn't exist in Canva, you're not going to always get the exact font. So it'll find that it's text, it'll convert it into editable text, but it's going to find a font that's the best match it can come up with. Now for everything else here, it's taken things and converted it into layers. So this little drip is its separate layer. This is a separate layer. So it's going in there, it's analyzing that design, it's trying to find things that it thinks are distinct objects, and it's putting each of those things on its own layer. I mentioned how you can also get to this from within the project interface. So let me just jump over to this other project here. And if we look at this and I go to position here, we can see that this is just one flat layer. But I can click on this, I can come under edit, and now under the edit menu, under Magic Studio, we'll see that we also have Magic Layers under here. Now this is a good time to mention that we do see this Pro crown icon. This means this is a Canva Pro feature. You do need to have a Canva Pro account to make use of this feature. Now, if anybody wants to try Canva Pro free for 30 days, I do have an affiliate link, which I'll put down below in the comments. Affiliate link, that just means I can earn a small commission. Nothing changes for you, but I'll put that link down in the comments below. So, Pro feature, but if we click on this now with this selected, it's going to do the same thing as when we just loaded it independently from the home menu. It's going to now look at this layer, it's going to analyze this layer, it's going to try to pull out any text, any objects that it thinks are distinct, and it's going to put everything up on its own layer. So let's give it a second and see what kind of results we get. Okay, so it has finished, and we noticed that the fonts did change slightly. So again, it's not going to be able to come up with fonts that don't exist here within Canva. It's going to try to match everything to its best of its ability. But this is editable text, and it's made this 4R and this system different things. So sometimes it's going to take things and separate things that you don't necessarily want to separate. And if I look at this here, I'm going to see that we have a whole bunch of layers in here. So I can really come down in here and move these individual elements. Now that might be great if that's what you're trying to do, but I also just wanted to point out that sometimes this tool overcomplicates things, and we already had tools that exist within Canva that can do some of these things. So this is really just building upon tools that already existed inside of Canva. And I'm talking about the Magic Grab tool and the Grab Text tool. So let me go ahead and add a new page here, and then I'll come under my upload section. I'm just going to add that same image right back to it. So it's this image right here. Now, if I had not wanted to sort of pull out every single layer like that, maybe I'm just interested in the main text here and I want to make a change to this main text, then I could have come under here, edit, and it would have been smarter to just use the grab text tool. So we go under here, we have this grab text tool here, again, a Canva Pro feature, but it's going to go through and it's processing the image now. It's just looking for the text. I'm not fooling around with everything, so I'm not going to get all those extra layers. So those extra layers are great if you're really trying to move around this circle and this circle, but maybe you're just interested in coming here and getting the text. And so now it's giving me option. I can click on whatever I want. So if I want to click on this text here, I'm going to go ahead and grab that. It's going to grab that text. It's going to put the text on its own layer. And so now we have this text in here that is editable text, but everything else just stays as one image, okay? So I just want to show you, you can come in here, you can use grab text. You also have the option of here of using the magic grab tool. So now I'm back on the main image, and if I wanted to come in here and use magic grab, then I can come in here, I can use the brush to tell it exactly what I'm looking for, or if I hover over, it's going to give me some different options. My main subject, it's not finding exactly what I want, so if I use my brush tool, and maybe I just brushed over her because I know I just want her to be the subject that I'm putting out on its own layer, then I could come in here and use this. So if you're just trying to grab one or two things or something specific, you have the grab text tool, you have the magic grab tool. You don't necessarily need to use magic layers. Magic layers is great, but sometimes it'll create a whole bunch of layers, make your sort of design more cluttered in terms of what's under the hood, what you can accidentally select. So only use it if you really need it as an option. See, with this magic grab, I was able to pull her out, but everything else stayed as one image in the background. So you have options here, so just choose what works best for you. So that's the simple view of what does this tool do, and really it just builds upon what the magic grab tool and the magic text tool already did. Now it just automates everything and it'll go in there and find everything it can. So choose whatever makes the most sense. But I think this makes a jumping off point for a larger topic, and that is how do we take this and fit this into a workflow that is going to be a smart workflow that saves us a ton of time. But since this discussion involves talking about AI, let me underscore all of this by saying I get it. I get all the problems with AI. I get the bad ways people use it. So we're talking about using AI in ethical, smart ways to help your workflow and to save you time. AI is not something we can put back in the box. It's not going to go away. We do need to be conscientious about how we use it. So please keep all that in mind. Okay, for this example, let's pretend you're a rock band and you want to be able to create a poster for a new event coming up, and maybe you just want to be able to start creating some of your social media content, some of your other branding content, and you don't have much to begin with. You have a couple starting assets. So let's say you have this image of the band and you have this logo here. Now I'm doing this rock band example because didn't we all want to be in a rock band when we were growing up at some point in time? But forget about the idea for a second. This could really apply to anything. You could be a dog food company trying to come up with an advertising campaign. You could be a freelance graphic designer. You could be any kind of business, any kind of content creator where you have a few assets, but you don't want to just start from scratch. You want to start to get ideas and then build out things quickly using a smart workflow where you incorporate AI to do some of the work for you. So that's the idea. So we're going to use this rock concert, rock band example. And so here's how I'm going to get started with this. So when you start working on a design project, even if you're a graphic designer by trade, usually you're not starting from zero and just designing something without looking at any reference material. You want to find inspiration. So you're looking for the colors that you're interested in that match your project. You're trying to figure out what design style. So that often involves looking through other designs. Now there are lots of different ways you can do that. We know Canva itself has tons and tons of templates you can explore. You can go to sites like Behance, Dribbble. There are all kinds of sites out there. You can also just go to Google. So I'm going to keep this really simple. I'm just going to go to Google search. So pick whatever search engine you want. Doesn't have to be Google. So I'm even going to start with a very generic search term. I'm just going to search for something like event poster. Keep it very generic. And then when these results come back, I'm just going to come up here and use this top tab to sort by images. So I'm looking at now images for event poster, and I'm looking for just design inspiration, something that I'm drawn to, something that where I like the colors, I like the sort of style of the design. So I'm not really looking at specifics like what elements exactly they have in there, but I'm looking at that general color, the general feel, and I'm trying to find things that might work for me. And even looking at this sort of large zoomed out thumbnail layer, I can really get a feel for design and whether it's something I respond to, something I think my audience is going to respond to, something that might work. So for example, this one here I like a lot here, so you can click on something, you can see a larger view of it over here. But when I find one I like, I'm going to control click also, just holding down that Control key on Windows. That would be Command on Mac, just so I get that to open up in a new tab. So here's that design I liked in a new tab, and I might go in here and find some others as well. So again, scrolling around, just looking for things I like. Now you can also come up here and you can get more specific. So I'm looking for to build a rock concert poster, so I could even add that to my search term. So rock concert event poster, same idea, just bringing back results here. So go ahead and search by rock concert event poster, and now we're getting more specific results. And so again, I can come in here and just try to find something that I like. So I'll just scroll down, and some of these look interesting right here, so maybe I'll click on this, and I like this one kind of, so I'm also going to control click on that. So now I have another one open that's a different style, but something that I also like. It also could work. And of course, if you want to get more specific here, you could come in here, you could do something like retro rock concert poster, if you know you wanted to have something that had that retro feel. So again, drilling down more and more on the types of things we might do. Now I'm going to choose this one as well. So again, control click. So I've opened 3 different images here. So we have this, we have this, we have this, all totally different styles, but all directions that maybe I want to explore. So I'm selecting all of these as potential starting points. Now again, you can choose as many potential starting points as you want, but ultimately this is about figuring out what's going to work for your brand, the type of content you want to create. So as you do this more and more, you're going to try to drill down on what styles, what aesthetics, what colors work for your branding, the type of content you create. And then as my next step, for each of these images I've chosen as a potential starting point, I'm going to right click, I'm going to save image as, and I'm going to save that off somewhere where I can use it later as a reference. So I have this one done here, and I've done that for the other images as well. Now this doesn't have to be a high res image, this isn't high res. I could even use something as small as this right here, and that would work, because the goal here is not to steal this image. We're using it as inspiration. We're interested in the style here, the overall feel. So for example, with this image here, this guitar work here with the wings here, I'm not looking to steal that specific element. You don't want to do things like that. You don't want to steal specific elements, but what you want to do is take the general feel and then feed it into an AI. You can get it to create something with a similar feel. You can also get it to generate a prompt for you to create artwork with similar feels. That is something that AI is very good at. You might be able to look at this image and say, I like this image, but you might not quite have the vocabulary graphic design-wise to describe what exactly it is. But AI can definitely do that, and AI can definitely help you build out prompts that just help you create things in that style and that feel that you want very quickly. And if you're staring at a blank page and you're trying to do this sometimes, you just sort of get lost. This is something where AI can just cut out a lot of the work and help you get there a lot quicker. Now for the next step in this process, I'm going to come over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to start feeding it the reference images we saved off, and then also the image of our band that we want to utilize in our event poster as well. Now, it's important to say that you don't have to use ChatGPT. I'm just using ChatGPT because I know Canva does have, if I go into Canva here, they do have this Ask Canva where you can sort of have a conversational dialogue. But right now, in terms of this conversational dialogue and the ability to spit out images and prompts, I just think ChatGPT is farther along. But there's Gemini, there's Claude, there's Copilot, there's Adobe Firefly. There's lots and lots of AIs out there. So really, it's about finding whatever works for you. I'm going to use ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, I'm telling it precisely what I want. So I uploaded an image here. So anytime you're doing a prompt, you can use this plus icon. You can add photos or files. So I loaded those up, and then I've asked it, I like this Kings of Leon band poster. I want to create something similar, but with an image of the other band photo I attached. Now, what's great about an AI like this, it'll really start to break down the design for you and give you the vocabulary if you want to be able to prompt it out with another AI to create an image. So it's telling me about the core style I'm reacting to, grid-based layout, color overlays per panel. So it's starting to give me the vocabulary I need. And it's also giving me a step-by-step if I wanted to go do this on my own. So it's telling me build the grid layout, add in your band images across the panel, add in the color. So it's giving me all that. However, I can also just tell it, hey, I want you to do this for me. So it's giving me all this advice here, but if I come down here, we can see it's making some suggestions. Do you want me to create a Canva ready template? Do you want me to map out the precise panel? So I tell it here, I want you to do some of those things, but first, can you just create the event poster for me? 8 by 10 inches or a similar vertical layout. And just like that, boom, it's created this image here. And if I look at this image here, just by clicking on it so we can see it a little larger, you see it has attempted to add in my photo so we can see my photo, but it's being obscured a lot of places. So I like this, but we're not quite there. So this is where you can start to have a back and forth. So after that, I said, do another version, make sure the entire van is visible. you can also do less text, keep the indie in the upper right. So I'm just giving it more specific instructions here, saying keep certain elements, get rid of other elements, and it's giving me this here. Now this suddenly is a lot closer to the type of thing I want. So with this one here, I came in here and I used this save option and I downloaded this particular version. So then you can just come back in here and continue this conversation. And I really enjoy this conversational AI style because it'll make suggestions. Sometimes they're really useful, other times it's not what you want, but you can direct it any way you want. So it can give you things like a master prompt. So you can take a prompt that specifically describes the sort of poster you just created or that you're looking to create, or the reference material, that design style. And you can take that and you can paste that into Canva AI image or whatever. You can use that other places. So as I go through here, I'm doing that sort of thing. Then I upload my other poster here. I'm looking for a poster in that style. And again, very specifically, it's breaking down that style. It's giving me a prompt if I want to use it to create other things in that style. Then of course, I can just ask it to create the poster, and it gave me this version here, which is very cool. Take a look at this here. So something totally different now, but once again, making use of that banned image, making use of a totally different style. And so again, this is something I saved off because we're going to do our final step in Canva where we start to use that new Magic Layers feature. So if I just go back just to finish this out, here's the final version. And again, got a very cool version of that. So very quickly, just by finding some reference materials that have the style that I want, having my own image that I'm going to use as part of this, can very quickly get this starting point. Now when we jump over to Canva, now this is the magic thing. This is really the thing that clicked with me about Magic Layers. Before, you might get something like this and you can go back and forth about it and say, hey, change the text to this, and it's getting better and better about updating the text. But now if you want that flexibility to be able to go in there to edit the text, to move some certain things around, we're going to have that now because of Magic Layers. Now we can actually go in there and make those final tweaks to really make it a design that works for us. Now here we are back over in Canva, and I have a project here where I'm creating my different versions of my poster. And so we can see I've uploaded here the different versions that we just got from ChatGPT. And now this is where we're going to make use of that Magic Layers for the final touch here. So we can come in here and we can update the poster. Because for each of these, we can see we have sort of the version we got from ChatGPT. And then I've gone to sort of change the text and finalize the version. So we have that one here. And we started with this one here, and I have this version here. And then here we have this. And then we have an updated version here. So I'm just going to talk through a little bit the process here. So let me just go and create a new page here. Let's just grab out this original photo here. So when you bring something like this in, the magic thing is now that now with Magic Layers, we can go in here and we can start to grab different elements. It's worth noting though, you don't have to use Magic Layers if you only want to grab a single element or two. So if I only wanted to be able to update the text and I was happy with everything else about this poster here, I could just come in here under Edit and I could choose something like the Grab Text option. So Grab Text, when you do that, it's going to find all the text in there. You can click on anything you want. You include all text if you want to bring it all over and grab that. Now it's specifically going to look at that text. It's going to try to find something comparable, and it's going to bring it back up in here. And now suddenly we can change this to whatever. So I've made my band name Lunar Static here. Just a made-up band name, but we could go ahead and now we could customize this and go ahead and do updates like that. Same thing with this. This is now updatable text, so I can change that to whatever I want. So let's just jump back and look at this version here. Now for this version, I actually ran the full Magic Layers on this whole image. So let me just look at my layers here. I had the base image, and anyways, with the base image, I went under here, Edit, and I chose Magic Layers just to run it on the whole image. And so you can see if I look at those layers again, it's broken things down into a lot of different elements. So it pulled out the different panes. I'd actually have a couple overlay layers which I brought in separately at the end. So let me just move these on over out of the way. This is just for lighting and texture. So that's something I like to do as well. Sometimes to tie like a design together, if you're bringing in additional elements, sometimes I will bring in some overlays that are just for texture, for lighting. So you can create those very easily in programs like Affinity, which is free now. So I have other tutorials on this channel about things like that. But for the running it on this image here, it found all the different panes and it put those on their own layers. When it brought this text in, in, it even added this effect automatically, so we can see that this has a drop shadow and offset. I did not do that. It specifically did that on its own, just going off this original image, since this had a little bit of a drop shadow. So sometimes it's very smart. It can do a lot of the work for you. I obviously updated the text to say lunar static. I added some more text down here. I brought in my logo. For a few areas, I thought their legs were just a little weird here down at the bottom. His legs should not be this long. This guy, something's going on there with that. We have an extra leg in here. So I went ahead and just added this panel along the bottom just to sort of hide where the image is. And so I did come in here and make a few updates like that. And I also brought in some sort of extra rectangles for the lines here that divided the panes. So you do sometimes have to come in here and do a little bit of work. But even when you have to come in here and do a little bit of work and make some of these final edits, you are doing way less than if you were starting from scratch. So here's my one overlay. And then if I come to position here, I think I have another one on top as well. Here's my other overlay just for a little texture. So all these finishing touches you can add as you see fit. Sometimes I will even download the final image like this and then bring it back in as sort of a flat file, because then with this flat file I can come in here under edit and adjust and come in here and play around with the different sliders. So for this one, I bumped up the vibrance. I bumped up my blacks and my whites just for a little bit more contrast. Again, you can do this in other programs like Affinity as well, of course, whatever you want to do. But if you're doing it in Canva, you can also do that as well. But so the takeaway here is, even if you end up doing some of these finishing touches, you just save a ton of time by using AI to help you get to a very close point to what you want for your final product. So let's look at this one here. This one, for some reason, it came in not quite at the right size. I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So I came in here and I made some adjustments and I ended up with this version. Now, there still are a few imperfections in here that I'd maybe want to polish this up if I really wanted to perfect this. I don't like the way this star is a little wonky. His microphone cable sort of disappears right in here. So I could try to use fine tools here in Canva to make those fixes. If not, I could jump over to a program like Affinity where I know I could make those fixes. And I have lots of tutorials on Affinity on this channel for things like that if you want to check them out. But again, we're talking about final tweaks. We're already very close, very quickly to that final product. So the last example here, if we look at this one here, this is the one that I brought in. And then once I ran that Magic Layers on it, we ended up with a version where I can come in here, I can make edits. And so now we have fully editable text. Again, added some text down here, updated the text where I needed to. And then again, I came in here and I brought in like a little bit of grunge here at the end. So whatever you want. But again, very quickly come in here and make updates. There's some little flex here where the shape kind of bothers me. So again, I might have to look for fixes in here. I might have to jump over to Affinity. But again, final finishing touches that aren't going to take me very much time. So can you use the new Magic Layers feature in Canva for those flat images you have where you just want to bring back editability in the text? Sure, of course you can, but I think the people that are going to get the most out of this tool are the ones that do the type of workflow I talk about in this video, where you're really using Magic Layers as that final step in a larger workflow where you're using some kind of sort of AI tools to really take back time. I hope you found some portion of this helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to this channel, and you can also subscribe to my email newsletter down below in the first pinned comment. That is where you can best stay up with all things new Canva and Affinity. Thanks again for stopping by, and I hope to see you soon.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the